Welcome back to the channel. Today we start a new build. It's a 2019 GMC Sierra Denali 2500 HD with the Duramax diesel. Now, it looks like it went off-roading and they might have left the suspension back in the hills. So we got a little tripod thing going on there. There's a little damage all over the vehicle, but looks like a pretty easy job. So let's take a better look at it. So I picked this one up in Texas and it's been charging on its way home. It's had plenty of time, like 14 hours I think. Our fob doesn't work, that's not a good sign. We're gonna need some airbags. $59,000 miles. And apparently we're gonna need some batteries. We do have a sunroof. Bonus. There's our headliner. All of our seat belts are locked up. So we'll need those rebuilt. We have a little cosmetic damage over here. Looks like the bumper caught something. It's got a little dent in it. We can straighten that out. We're missing our really expensive skid plate on the front, which is just a piece of chrome. And bumper valance. Just little odds and ends that are plastic, so we'll throw those back on. There's a few dents in the fender. Take care of those. These aren't the right wheels and tires, and I don't know if they were on the truck when it got hit or if the owner took his fancy wheels off and threw these on, because I do have four. There's one in the back of the truck, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. I would think that since the suspension's missing, there'd at least be something wrong with whatever wheel is on there. So I have a good set of wheels and tires that don't belong on here. So while I was down in Texas picking this up, I also bought a set of wheels and tires that belong on here, the 20-inch chrome wheels. So we'll throw those on here and I'll be able to sell these. These are the ones that go on a 3500, so they're 18-inch. So whatever they hit must have slapped this mirror closed. So we got a nice dent on our door here. And we're gonna need one of these really expensive power folding mirrors. So we'll take care of that. We'll get a mirror. And it looks like whoever was in here wasn't wearing their seatbelt. So the door is pushed out a little bit at the top because they hit it. So we're gonna have to realign the door. Luckily, these door hinges are Playdonium, so we'll have no problem with that. Our tailgate won't open. It's locked, and we don't have a lock in there. So we're gonna have to probably pull the inside panel apart, open it the hard way. Figure out exactly what they did in there, because even the power door lock doesn't work. I don't know what I'm gonna find. There's a little damage on the back of our cab here. Easy enough to repair, but unfortunately in order to do it, we're gonna have to remove the bed so that we can repair this and paint the back of this cab. So that's gonna take a little time. Lucky for me, these beds come off super easy. There's our correct tires in the back. We did get a tray. I assume it had all-weather mats in here. We didn't get those. So on these suspensions, when they get hit, they pretty much just rip the ball joints off. And that's exactly what happened. Unfortunately, I didn't get any of this stuff. So I don't have a knuckle, caliper, brake rotor, any of that stuff. So I'm gonna have to order all that. This upper control arm, I don't trust it. It looks like it's bent. Same thing with the lower. Gonna need some tie rod ends, shock, brake hose, ABS wires. But we'll get a whole knee assembly. The problem is, to piece all this out is very expensive, so I'll just get a used one. For right now, if you guys remember the mistake truck, well, that knuckle that they welded back together, it's gonna get one more use. We're gonna throw it on here for now, just so that I can get this thing off the trailer and start working on it, because I wanna get this thing done in less than a week. So, in order to do that, we gotta start on it now. We'll change the suspension later, but at least we can get the bed off it and get the bodywork going so they can be painted. Well, I'm waiting for the seatbelts to be rebuilt and waiting for the headliner to come in. First, we're gonna have to unstrap it to make jacking it up a little easier. I set it down on the board so that it wasn't sitting on my trailer. That way it sat a little more level and wasn't digging into my trailer on the way back. It left quite an impression in that block of wood. So the suspension did exactly what it was supposed to do. The ball joints tore away because in an accident, you don't want the wheel coming in through the truck. This way, if it were to get hit there, it would come off. This one just didn't land its jump quite so well. Who's up for a game of Sierra Denali Jenga? I'm not ready to die just yet, so I'll throw a jack stand under it. Maybe that'll buy me another 5 minutes or so. So we'll bend the bracket back for our brake hose. The line's got a little bend in it, so we'll straighten that out while it's still connected. Put the wrench behind it, push it back out a little bit. Make sure it's straight like it's supposed to be. That looks good. Now we can loosen it up, unthread that line by hand. Good luck trying that on a rusty Illinois truck. It's still dirty, and I'm just going to assume that the dirt comes standard on the Denalis. At least it does on every one I buy. Pull our little retainer out, toss the hose in the pile. Now we can unbolt our sway bar link. Another thing not possible on an Illinois truck. Unbolt the bottom of our two-piece shock. And now we'll unbolt the top. Just two nuts at the top. Ratcheting wrenches make this job so much easier. Pile. Once that's out of the way, we can take the upper control arm out. The bolts for the upper control arm go in from where the shock is. At least the back one does. So you got to take the shock out of the way to get it out. So use our ratcheting hammer to tap it out a little bit. Loosen up the front one. Slide this bolt out. And our control arm's out. In the pile. Now we have to pull out what's left of our drive axle. This is one of those Bluetooth axles, I guess. That little stub is supposed to stay in the front differential. It's just held in with the little C-clips that hold on normal drive axles into transmissions. So we'll just slide it back in there. The seal looked pretty good. I didn't see any damage on it, and I couldn't get one right away, so I'm going to put it back together. If it doesn't leak, we're going to leave it alone. If it does leak, it's pretty easy to pull the drive axle out and change it later. So now we're going to bolt our lower control arm. Tap the bolt out of there. We'll loosen up the back. I'm going to use a ratchet strap to pull the torsion bar down and away, and maybe the truck on top of me. Look away, OSHA. It's about to get sketchy. Is that even possible? That's always possible. So go a little bit more. And one more time. There is a jack stand underneath it, but it's still pretty sketchy even for me. So we'll use our adjustable hammer to loosen up our inner tie rod. It was kind of big, so we'll just use a pair of channel locks to get it the rest of the way out. I didn't have a wrench the right size, so. Looks like somebody cut that off with a torch. So, I don't know if it was still hanging on and the other shop or the tow truck driver or somebody cut it off. But I'm pretty sure that wasn't done in the accident. Now we can slide in our mistake control arm. I don't know if it's good or not, but it'll work for this. It didn't really line up all that well, so I'm going to say it's probably bent. Actually, I had to put a little bit smaller bolt in the back to get it to line up. Now we can put our knuckle up. And we'll put our upper control arm in. Then jack it up a little bit so we can get the bolts to line up. Like I said, this is only temporary. I need to get it off the trailer so they can start doing the body work on it. Otherwise, I have to wait till next weekend. Because the gnomes don't come around all the time. We're not even going to put a shock in right now. Just the minimum to be able to move it around the shop. I can put our caliper back on and the bracket. Those nice quality welds in that knuckle. Wonder how long they'll last. Click. Now we're going to route our brake hose. I ended up using the bracket that came with the brake hose off the mistake truck. Put our brake line back on. Tighten everything up. Click. Stick our ABS wire up there. Another Bluetooth unit. So now we put our tie rod assembly in there. It's the inner and the outer. Never took them apart. I think it's a little bent, but it'll work. Until it doesn't. We'll tighten it up. Run the nut on the outer tie rod end. It was spinning, so just stuck a pry bar underneath it to jam it up in the knuckle and then tighten it up. And now we can put our tire back on. Or at least try. Don't quite have it high enough. So we'll get a lug nut started. And we'll jack it up a little bit more. Had some extra lug nuts from the mistake truck too. That's where those came from. There's a lot of little stuff that's missing when you don't get that suspension, and it really adds up. So having a parts truck can kind of save you some money. Put our jack stand out of there. Let it down. See if that knuckle will last at least to get it off the trailer. Hook up our jumper packs. This looks like a double jumper pack. Hope it starts. The auction says it does. Telling the truth. Gotta go find a dull razor blade to cut that. And it runs. Goes into gear. E-brakes off. It should actually drive. And we're kidding. It runs. This time, the screaming might actually be warranted. That our power folding mirror actually folds or unfolds, whatever. Still not sure about that knuckle. We did bleed the brakes. I didn't just throw it together. Then there definitely would have been a lot of screaming. been a good year for selling cars. So Mr. Richie Rich here has a brand new razor blade. So to answer some people's questions, there's no saving these airbags. You can't like repack them or anything. So we're just gonna cut them, get them out of our way, make it a little easier to work around. Because to take them out, we have to take the headliner out. Working around them would be a pain. Besides, cutting them out's kind of fun. Not as much fun as removing a Camaro headlight with a sledgehammer, but fun. So that's how the 1%ers live with their fancy razor blades. We have the wheels that actually belong on the truck that we picked up. Cut the airbag out of the other side. This truck is nowhere near totaled. I don't understand why they totaled it. Somebody was just lazy and didn't want to do some work, I guess. Wow. Pull our fancy chrome 20 out of there. And we're onto the gate. See if we can make it open. Pull the cover off the inside. Just a bunch of little T15 Torx screws. Then we'll open it up. Just pull the two rods together and it opens. And we'll climb down, take a look at it, see if we can figure out what's going on in there. We'll unbolt the lock actuator. And we can see a little more. Unplug it. And try to figure out what's going on in here. So there's a little stop that's broken. It's part of the handle. It'll work just fine as long as you don't use the door lock. So we're just going to bolt this actuator back in here so we don't lose it. Not plug in the actuator. And magic. Our gate opens. Done. Oh, not yet. Now it's done, because it'll open. Admit it, clean freaks. It was bugging you that I didn't take this off right away. Wax and grease remover wouldn't take it off, so this is actually just lacquer thinner. That takes it off. Alright, clean freaks. This is the part you're going to enjoy. Even though I'm pretty sure it's all garbage, we're going to go through it because you never know what kind of treasures you're going to find. Lots of junk. A bag of garbage. Literal garbage. So we're going to throw away anything that's not metal. Put the metal in a separate pile. Let's go into the scrapyard. Maybe that's what led to the accident. The Rona. I know the clean freaks are enjoying this. Oh man, I should have cleaned the truck out first. I wouldn't have had to waste a good razor blade. Are there skid plates? Somebody's been here before. Not sure why they took them off. Spare parts. There were actually a bunch of fittings, so I brought those over to the plumbing shop next door. They can use them. So that's it. Everything left is metal. So we'll throw that in the pile. We'll let the detailing gnome take care of the rest. Now we're going to go pull our seatbelts out. We need to get these in the mail. So we'll pull the B-pillar trim off the bottom. We can unbolt our retractor. One bolt in the bottom, one in the top. Then we can unplug it. The driver wasn't wearing her seatbelt for sure, so it is tensioned all the way up. I can't move the seat, so it's easier to take the retractor side out. That'll give us a little slack, so we can unbolt the other side of it. Since I am going to have these seatbelts rebuilt, I can't just cut the seatbelt. We'll pull the top of our B-pillar trim off. Pull little caps off the grab handles. Two 10mm inside. Unclip the trim and pull it off. Fish the seatbelt through it. Check and see if our adjuster works. And it doesn't. Pretty common that they break. So we'll unbolt our seatbelt. And we'll add an adjuster to the list of parts we're going to need. There's one little bracket in the center. Just pop the Christmas tree out of that. And this seatbelt's out and ready to be shipped. Now I can pull the passenger side out. This one there was a little bit more room, so I can get to the bolt on the seat. Pull it out of there and that bezel comes out of the seat. And we'll pull our B-pillar trim off. Just pull the sill plate up a little bit. It tucks underneath, you don't have to take it all the way off. Same thing with the back. Unplug our seatbelt, and we'll unbolt it. For some reason, I had to use two different size bolts. Pop our little caps off so we can get to our 10mm. It's pretty dark in here. The windows are tinted all the way around. Even the already tinted rear windows are tinted. So it's like 20% tint over 20% tint. So we'll fish our seatbelt out of our trim. Pop the little bracket off in the center. And bolt the top. And this seatbelt's ready to ship out. So let's order the repair for our seatbelts. Pretty easy. I already have an account with my airbags, so we'll just log on. Pick our seatbelt repair. GMC 2500 19. And that gives us our seatbelts. I'm able to reset the module myself, so I don't need to have the module reset. And it gives us a selection of the different types, or just a single stage tensioner. With an open circuit. Okay, we want 2. So that's it. We're done. Now we'll go to their checkout. So we'll print out our free shipping label. We'll put it on our box. We'll drop it off at any FedEx location. Once they get the seatbelts, they'll repair them. When they're all ready, they'll send me an email, let me know I got to pay for them. Once I pay for them, they'll ship them back. The shipping on the way back is already included with everything else. Should take them about 24 hours to repair the seatbelts once they get them. They should have them in a couple days with the shipping, and I should have them back a couple days after that. So about a week to get them done. Couldn't be simpler. So let's get these things in the mail. So that's as far as we're going to go today. The shipping time on those seatbelts back and forth is probably going to take longer than this entire rebuild. So hopefully by the time they're back, I'm ready for them. If I have to wait a little bit, it's not a huge deal because they're one of the last pieces to go in. So I can have this whole thing done, throw the seatbelts in, and it's ready to go. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.